I was only able to achieve. So my goals for 2024 were, I messed up a lot financially in 2024. Hello everybody, it's been a while, but in today's video I'll be diving into how much I have failed in succeeding in my 2024 goals and what I will be doing differently in 2025. So let's get into it. I have wrote everything in these 2 notebooks. I have been loving journaling lately and it's been such a game changer for me in being more organized. For some context, I did write 11 goals for 2024. I was only able to achieve 3 out of those 11 goals, which means I failed at 8 goals in 2024. So my goals for 2024 were to travel to Japan and Canada by the end of the year, read at least 10 books, pass the very big exam that I had in Korea, save $10,000 for home expenses, write 365 words of affirmations to myself, track my budget from January to December, do Aisha, which is a pole dance move, upload at least 40 videos to my channel, create a new income stream, hone in on my unique skills and talents, so I guess to recognize like my skills and strengths and talents. And the last one is to be able to do the middle split. So I'm gonna go over what I did to have failed a lot of these goals. So the first goal was to travel to Japan and Canada. I was able to do that, which is great, which checks off the first box for me, but it was very expensive traveling back to Canada after 5 years of not seeing my friends and family. It was a very expensive trip because the cost of living in Canada is very expensive. My family moved all the way to like the rural countryside, which meant that anytime I needed to see my friends, I needed to be in the city, and so I had to book a hotel and transportation and just food. Living costs in general in Canada is just very expensive, and so I will not be going back to Canada next year, but probably in 2 years time, because again it is a lot of money. Japan was also a very fun trip, and thanks to the exchange rate between the Korean won to the Japanese yen, it was a very affordable trip, I would say. The next one was read 10 books. I was able to surpass this. I think I read like 14 books. I have a whole list of books that I read, but thanks to Book Talk I really got back into reading, really started to use reading as a tool for me to wind down from the day and just get off my screens before I fall asleep, and that's been really great for my mental health. The third goal that I was able to achieve was my very big Korean test. Now I'm not going to go over into detail as to what that test was for until everything is finalized, but it was the most stressful time of my year, but it was also the one great thing that I was able to achieve. I studied for months for this test. It was mentally, physically, emotionally taxing, but I was able to get it over and done with, and I do not plan to ever taking that test ever again. The other goals are definitely something that I wanted to work on in 2024, but it just never came to fruition. That being save $10,000 for my home expenses. That didn't end up happening due to some personal reasons. I'm not gonna get into it, but basically I started to realize how important it is for me to have more control of my money, and for me to just not listen to anyone else, but be able to do my own research, just follow with what I think is right. Coming into 2025, what I'm gonna be doing is just making sure that I have a stronger and more firmer grip on my money, and I'll get into that later on. The next goal that I wasn't able to achieve was 365 words of affirmations or kindness to myself. Now the reason why I failed to do this was because I just couldn't keep up with the habit. It wasn't something that was very natural to me. I even bought like a whole planner with the dates and everything, and each day I would write like some type of affirmation to myself, but then I didn't keep up with the habit just because I felt like it was a chore and it's something that I didn't enjoy, so that was something that I dropped immediately. Like I even crossed it off in my notebook. The next one that I wasn't able to achieve was tracking my budget for the whole year. Budgeting is something that I struggled with, and I actually thought that I was pretty good with my money management until I was very much humbled when I actually tried a new budgeting system, and I started to realize where my money was going and how much I was basically abusing not having a budget. And so the end of the 2024 was the time where I was very humbled by how much money I was throwing away because I just wasn't tracking it properly. The next few goals, I'm just gonna go ahead and fly by them. One was doing Aisha, uploading 40 videos to my channel, create a new income stream, hone in my unique skills and talents, and be able to do middle splits. So those things I wasn't able to achieve, especially the more physical aspects of my goals. I started to fall out of love with my hobbies. I had to travel very far. It was no longer stimulating. It was no longer interesting. So I decided to, instead of wasting my money every month on my pole dance classes and everything else, I decided to drop it all together, which is saving me like $300 per month. The other thing is I want to create videos based on my own intuition. I don't want to like force myself to create X amount of videos videos and put on YouTube because I told myself that I have to. I started to realize how little time I actually had when I created these goals. So me trying to tell myself that I should upload 40 videos by the end of the year was very unrealistic for me. And so for next year, I do plan to kind of go with the flow and feel what my gut is telling me. So I do get paralysis paralysis. And so I want to be able to create videos when I feel like it's right and not force myself to create videos because I have a certain number that I want to achieve. So I think that ties very well into what I'm going to be doing differently for my 2025 goals, especially as a low income earner. We are actually going to switch notebooks. I have all of my ideas for 2025 written in this journal, and I'm starting to really love journaling a lot more. It's been really refreshing being able to like not be worried about using a notebook and just being able to put my thoughts on paper. I know people say to, you know, reach for the stars and then you'll land on the moon, but honestly, like, I started to realize how important it is for me to give myself the time and space for me to achieve things and not rush through it, because anytime I rush through anything, it makes me feel like it's a chore and I will drop that habit immediately. So I'm gonna get right into what my goals for 2025 is and what am I doing to achieve those things. So I've actually broken it down into 6 categories. The categories that I have are finances, health, social, hobbies, career, and education. For finances, I do want to save a lot more money this year because looking at my finances in 2024, it wasn't that great. I know I could do better, but I am a low income earner, which means I really have to be more strict with where I spend my money. There's really little room for discretionary spending. I want to be able to increase my emergency fund for up to $4,000. And I'm giving you ballpark numbers. Again, I'm being paid in Korean won. And if I try to go through things with the exchange rate, you guys are gonna be so confused. So I'm just giving you guys like just general, round, pretty numbers. The next thing is invest $5,000 in Korea. So I've only ever started to invest in Korea about a year ago, and I've already made a profit of like 30-ish% in each of my investment accounts in Korea. So that's a really awesome. And so I want to keep the ball rolling. I want to be able to invest more because I can see the growth. I just want to see more growth from my financial freedom in the future. My next financial goal is to complete a low buy year. So I have made a list of things that I will not be purchasing for the entirety of the year. I have also made a list of things that I'm able to buy as long as I use whatever products that I have already left. So that prevents me from trying to hoard things, which I have a problem of, especially with skincare. And that prevents me from spending a lot of unnecessary money that I could have used for saving or investing. The last financial goal that I have is to budget from January to December. And I actually got this advice from a random Facebook post that I came across. And they were saying how in order for you to save for a house, you need to be able to track your spending for 2 years to see where your money is going, where you need to cut back, where you can improve, and all those things. And because I've only been budgeting for honestly 2 months, I really need to get back into the game of being more frugal with where my spending is going, trimming the fat from my budget, and all those things. But I will be talking about that in a different video. But all in all, I really want to track my spending for the entirety of the year so that I can have a better snapshot as to what my money is doing, because honestly I didn't know what I was doing with my money until like 2 months ago. Now we are going to go into the health aspect. Again, I try to make this as realistic as possible. If I kind of try to shoot for the stars, I end up pressuring myself, and that causes me a lot of anxiety. So the first one would be try to go to Pilates at least once to twice a week, and then also go to the gym once or twice a week. Now because I quit pole dancing, I do have a lot more time on my hands, because whenever I had pole dance class, it would take me an hour to get there, an hour of class, and an hour to get back home. That's already 3 hours. But because the gym is literally like a 5-minute walk from my house, same thing with my Pilates classes, I save not only a lot of transportation money, but also a lot of time. My next one would have to be taking more vitamins. I am trying to be really good at this, but I realized that I'm not a person that can take things every single day. Like, I cannot take my vitamins every single day because that's just nothing that works for me. So instead, I have made it a goal to try to take my vitamins 3 times a week. I think that's enough for me. That's achievable and that's more realistic. The last health related goal that I have for 2025 is to try meditating for a week. I've heard a lot of people mention how great meditating was for you, and I think I'm now in the right headspace to be able to try that. So I'm gonna try that for a week, probably just a minute of meditation. I cannot do those 5-10 minute meditations. It's just not gonna work for me. I'm gonna try small and then see where that goes. The main thing for me in 2025 is just to make sure that my goals are accessible and that I have the resources to be able to achieve them. I've noticed that in my 2024 goals, I was not being realistic with what time I had and the resources that I had around me. Now that I've kind of figured out that, okay, these are the reasons why I failed in 2024, I can use that as a lesson coming into 2025 to achieve my goals. The last ones that I have are social, hobbies, career, and education. I want to make sure that I invest more time with my friends. I started to realize that how your social relationships are so important, especially when you're older. In regards to hobbies, I want to try to read at least 24 books, so that's 2 books per month. I think that's pretty achievable. I'm currently trying to read this book. It's actually called Powerless. I don't want to take out the book cover, but this book cover has been a game changer for me because every time I would bring my books to work in my bag, it would just scratch up and really damage the cover. But this has been making sure that I just keep my books nice and pristine. So also under hobbies would be to try out one new hobby, and I'm hoping to try to find something that's a lot more closer to my home because I'm really notorious for trying to find things outside of my neighborhood, which means I'll have to travel a lot farther and spend more time and more money on transportation, which is something that I'm trying to avoid this year. So again, just to recap, read 24 books and try one new hobby. Under my career is upload a little bit more consistently to YouTube. Again, I'm going to try to upload at least once per month, so that's 12 YouTube videos, and I think that's a little bit more realistic with the time and the resources that I have. And I'm just gonna go with the flow, you know, like I really want to go by the motto, create more, consume less, and take more action without the analysis paralysis. With that mindset, that's really going to help me to achieve this goal and just put out content and be able to work on my creativity, just work on creative projects that I've been dying to work on. The last one is education. I want to make sure that I improve my Korean. I've been consistently taking classes. I have found really amazing teachers, and so I already feel the improvement. It's just a matter of me practicing every day and just getting to a level where I feel like I can actually have more complex conversations. I am currently at a level probably a B1 or B2. I am trying to get to a level B2 to C1. Lastly, for education is I want to try to learn 3 new skills. I think that's very achievable in a 12-month span. I don't know what these skills are, but you know, whenever I come across something that interests me, that's probably something that I'm going to dive right into. So that concludes my 2025 goals that I have. What am I going to be doing differently in 2025? Well, the first thing that I've already done is downloading some apps that really work towards my productivity and keeping me accountable. The first one would definitely be YNAB, You Need a Budget. And you've probably heard of this app before. I was very skeptical about it. I'm like, why did you pay over $100 for an app? But it's very much worth it. I can see the value and I've seen that it's working for me. I've tried so many different budgeting apps, budgeting templates. I've bought things off Etsy. It just wasn't working for me until I used YNAB, and that's why I started to realize that I messed up a lot financially in 2024. I'm already seeing a lot of financial improvements in the past 2 months that I've been using it, and so going forward I can see myself using it for the entirety of the year and moving forward as well, just because it's already making me think differently about my money and where I'm spending it. The other one is definitely a habit tracker. Again, I did mention some of my health goals as well, and so I'll be using that to track my progress and how well I am keeping up with my goals. Really, I think it'll be really neat to see, you know, like how many days I buy coffee from the outside, or how many times I've made coffee at home, or even how many times I've eaten my vitamins for the week, things like that. And I really want to get back into it. I did do this last year, but I kind of fell off the rails, but this year I really am determined to stick to it. Another thing that I'm doing to make sure that I'm achieving my 2025 goals is to give myself the time and resources to achieve my goals. So I already mentioned this before, but honestly I just didn't have the time, the resources, to achieve whatever I wanted to achieve. But this year is going to be different because I wasn't very hard and strict on my goals that I wanted to achieve this year. So as you can see, 3 new skills, learn 1 hobby, try meditation for a week. Those are very small quantities, and so the great thing about having small quantities as your starting point is that those are just starting points, right? If I feel like things are working for me, I can always go above that goal if things aren't working for me, then at least I can say that I tried. I think the last thing that I'm going to be doing differently in 2025 to be able to keep myself more accountable is just using the technology around me. Again, I have my phone. I can use the Notes app to not only jot down my ideas, but also to track, you know, like how many books I'm reading, as well as use apps like Spotify to be able to read my books a little bit faster. I've heard that those who read an audiobook, or sorry, listen to an audiobook while reading a book, it kind of like enhances the experiences, but you're also able to kind of go through a book faster. So that's what I'm going to be trying it as well. Now, the last thing that I want to try for 2025 is to go live by a few different models that I've already mentioned in this video. The first one being create more, consume less. So being able to just dive a little bit more deeper into the creativity side of things. Another one would be if it costs my peace, then it's definitely too expensive. So anything that is gonna like stress me out, give me anxiety. Are you hungry? Okay, we'll give you some food. The last one is if it costs my peace, then it's too expensive. And I think that kind of speaks for itself. I'm all about me this year. I'm going to put myself first, taking care of my mental health. And so that means that anything that is in the way of my peace, I'm not going to be engaging into it. And that is basically it for my goals in 2025 and what I will be doing differently. Even though I did fail in 2024, I do hope that this year will be better. I can feel that it will be better just because I have a different mindset about things, and I'm going to have a different process and systems on how I do things. And I hope you follow along with me on this amazing journey, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye!